Good evening. Welcome to the November 17th meeting of the Oceanside City Council. We'd like to start with roll call, please. Mr. Nabato?
Mayor Sanchez.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Kime. Sorry. Councilmember Jensen. Councilmember Rodriguez. Councilmember Weiss.
Thank you. Next is our invocation. We're privileged to have Pastor Christopher Felix from the Genesis the King's Church. Pastor Felix, please stand.
Good morning. Or good evening, sorry. I'm still in work mode. All right. I'm going to start with this small excerpt from our first president of the United States, George Washington. And he says, whereas it's the duty of all nations to acknowledge the providence of Almighty God, to obey his will, to be grateful for his benefits, and humbly implore his protection and favor. So we invite you to come touch our hearts with your love, your mercy. We repent for our sins and ask for forgiveness as we forgive our neighbor. Lead us with your spirit in the direction we are to go in the city of Oceanside. As we lift up your son, Jesus, in this room, in this building, and in the city of Oceanside. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Please remain standing and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You can be seated. And we're going to go ahead and start with proclamations and presentations. And for this evening, we know that a week from tomorrow is Thanksgiving. So that's kind of the theme for our presentations and proclamations. And we're going to start with David Singh of the Singh Farm, which is the West Coast tomato growers, Oceanside Poll, and the last California farm that actually has tomatoes on the which is why you're called Poll, right?
Yeah. Yes. All right. I guess.
Three generations, right? Since 1939.
Yes. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mayor Sanchez and council members. My name is Harry David Singh. I'm a third-generation farmer. Our family started our agribusiness here in Oceanside in 1939. I'm the Director of Human Resources for our farm, West Coast Tomato Growers, which is one of the largest producers of vine-ripe tomatoes in the U.S. Our family, also the Singh family, was also the first large-scale user and pioneer of the H-2A program in California. For the last 20 years, I've administered the H-2A program and developed a strong understanding in every aspect of the program, both here in the States and in Mexico. Our grandparents taught us to be active in every part of the farm, how better understand how everything works. Like I said, we're a family business. My brother Priya is the general farm manager. My sister Tajma is the office manager. My brother Omar is the packing shed manager. My sister Jahan is in accounts payable. My cousin Jacob is also a packing shed supervisor, and my father is still actively on the farm, giving all of his children a hard time. And I also, have my mother here as well, so in case I didn't get asked any questions, I can use her as a human shield. So, one thing that we learned in the pandemic is that, all farm workers are essential. Another thing we learned in the pandemic was how to finally wash our hands properly. When the vaccine became available to us in March of this year, our guest workers were really surprised that they were getting the vaccine in the beginning of the year because the vaccine was not readily available for them in Mexico. So they were extremely thankful that we took these steps to go ahead and provide the vaccine to them. It took some swaying and education to go ahead and get our domestic workforce on board as well because of the misinformation that was out there about the vaccines and COVID-19. Some of the rumors, it's going to make them sterile, or, they're going to put a microchip in me. I was like, you guys already have a microchip. It's a phone. So But over a period of time, they also decided to go ahead and get the vaccine because they saw what it was doing in their household. So they found it extremely convenient that we were providing vaccine clinics there at the farm. We schedule vaccine clinics every month for all of our guests, for all of our employees from March into September. With the work of CAL FIRE and the Vista Community Clinic, we were able to go ahead and coordinate all these events. And now we're also doing booster shots and flu shot clinics for all of our farm workers. Many of our guest workers saw firsthand what COVID-19 did in their small towns, and so they jumped at the opportunity to be provided a vaccine. Some of the additional steps that we took in Mexico was, everyone getting tested, lots of education for all of our guest workers, including videos and even demonstrations on as simple as getting a spray bottle and squirting it to show as an example, this is how germs spread. So just, to get a better understanding how germs spread. And our education outreach worked because we actually had individuals call us up by saying, I was possibly exposed. My husband or my wife tested positive. I can't go, but please consider me in the future for coming up on another trip. We were also extremely thankful that they didn't withhold such information from us. What we're doing right now for all of our guest workers that are returning back to Mexico, it's the end of the season. We're giving them goodie bags, again, education, pamphlets, colored pamphlets on, protection that they can take. The goodie bags would have like hand sanitizer, N95 masks, because they're all going back by plane. They all want to come up by bus, but everybody wants to go back by plane because they want to get home and see their families as soon as possible. But one message we really struck to them is we've worked so hard in keeping everyone safe, okay? Please take all these precautions, these items that we're giving you, because it would be absolutely terrible if you took this home to your families. That message really stuck. Last month we hosted a farm tour on essential workers and the pandemic, and we invited agencies and users from all over the state. I would like to read an excerpt from the Department of State internal document summarizing their visit. Visit to the tomato farm. We had an amazing visit to West Coast Tomato Growers hosted by, and they really did write this, incomparable David Singh, Consulate General Tom Riot, the U.S. Consulate from the U.S. Consulate Tijuana, Ambassador Carlos Gonzalez Gutierrez from the San Diego Mexican Consulate, and Oceanside Mayor Esther Sanchez were special guests. It was a fantastic opportunity to see how many government and NGO workers are invested in making the program a success. It was especially meaningful to hear in their own words of the workers the impact that the H-2A program has had on their lives, and to find a legitimate guest worker program to support their loved ones at home. In 2021, our visa approval rating was 100%. Out of 575 guest workers that applied, 575 guest workers were approved. Our return rate is 95%. Our return rate is 95% every year, and we're very thankful that our guest workers choose to come with us and work with us every year. Some of them have been with us for almost 20 years. I'm very proud that what our family has done and accomplished to keep all of our employees safe during the pandemic and the additional steps that we have taken. Our family has a passion for farming, and it is our desire to continue farming here in Oceanside. In order to, one of the things to continue farming in Oceanside, it is critically important that we provide housing for all of our farm workers. We are actually in the planning and the construction of housing and kitchen dining facilities on a 4-acre site reflected in the image on the screen. This property is in excess of land located on the site of 20 acres of our packing shed, which is located at 5780 Mission Avenue and is located in an agricultural district which permits farm worker housing. Currently planned, this housing will include 8 two-story buildings at 4,000 square foot each and will accommodate 480 seasonal guest workers. Our tentative plans were reviewed by the city staff, and comments were provided at the pre-development conference held on September 22nd. Subject to the confirmation from the water utilities that there's adequate sewer capacity, we'll be moving forward with the preparation of the plans required for the processing of a development plan and conditional use permit. Our goal is to have our housing completed for our seasonal guest workers by the spring of 2023. I also wanted to go ahead and share some photos that we had from some recent events that we had at our farm. Okay, so some of the photos that we have, so this photo was the Consulate Generals. We took them up to our farm, and they were engaging with our guest workers. They were speaking. It was quite a dialogue because it was an opportunity for them to go ahead and see the program come to life. The guest workers also had an opportunity to ask questions of the Consulate Generals, which was also, how does it feel to be in the hot seat, guys? So they took that opportunity to ask them questions. We had both Carlos Gonzalez Gutierrez and Tom Riot, both Consulate Generals from the San Diego Mexican Consulate and the U.S. Consulate Tijuana in attendance. As a group photo, the Consulate Generals and Mayor Esther Sanchez there. One of the gentlemen, actually the gentleman that is standing right next to you, he said something extremely heartfelt, and it was that still stuck with me that, that we are, looking forward to them, and, we're working here, but we're also, grateful that, the farm is taking these steps to go ahead and protect us and our families. And so that still sticks with me what he said. Here we have a photo of our guest workers receiving the booster shot. They're filling out their paperwork for the COVID-19 booster shot and flu shot. This event was put together by Champions for Health, and it was done at our employee housing. Let's see. I'm still a little miffed by this because apparently the shot tickles, so he's just up there laughing. We also had another event last week that we, in coordination with the San Diego Mexican Consulate, 93 of our guest workers renewed their Mexican passports here in San Diego. And the reason they did this is because in Mexico, due to the pandemic, it's the wait list to get a visa, or a passport, is anywhere from 3 to 6 months. So there is a delay. But the San Diego Mexican Consulate was very grateful, and we are extremely grateful that they offered us this opportunity. So it's a photo of them, them inside getting materials. The Consulate General came out to say a few words to our farm workers, and we were, again, extremely grateful and thankful that they were able to do that. All right, now guys leaving. This photo is a group of 83 guest workers that are returning home. All right. They are extremely excited to go home. We gave them the goodie bags and the N95 masks and other, hand sanitizer and other little snacks that, for their journey home. We provide the transportation and the travel, the airplane tickets for them to go back home. That day we had 83. Next week, I have a group of 138 going back. And like I said, we have a total of 570 guest workers, so we'll be sending the rest of them back soon enough. But we're all extremely grateful and thankful that they all choose to work with us. And, they all choose to work with us, and we're thankful for all of their hard work, and we're thankful to have them. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, David. Thank you. And especially am thankful that we have farms in Oceanside. My parents started off working in Oceanside as farm workers. And so having been to this tour, I got to meet someone very special, Erika Alfaro, who's here with us today. Come on up, Erika. Whose parents also were farm workers, and she actually graduated, and to show great honor to her parents and her history of their history of being here and what they had to go through, she had a picture taken with her graduation gown in the fields. And I don't know, it went viral. It absolutely went viral. And so this is the person that started it. She has since written a book called Cosechando Sueños, Harvesting Dreams. And so here's Erika.
Thank you, Esther. It is an honor for me to be here today. In 2019, a graduation photo where a girl is standing in the fields with her farm worker parents made headlines around that girl. It makes me so proud to say that I am the daughter of farm workers. My parents met in 1987 in the fields of West Coast tomatoes growers. David's Farm. I was born in Fresno, California, but I spent most of my childhood in Tijuana, Mexico. Then in 2002, my parents decided to move from Tijuana, Mexico to Oceanside, California. Even though that my parents never had the opportunity to go to school, they always knew the importance of getting a good education. My parents returned to work in the fields. Mom once told me a story of how a gentleman will pass by and get off of his truck and ask her, "How are you doing, ma'am? How are they treating you?" During my summer vacations, my mom used to take me to work in the fields with her. Every time that a truck from the office management will pass by, she will stop and look at me and say, "Ese es mi sueño, mija. That is my dream, mija, to see you in an office like them." Well, Mom's dream came true. I can proudly say that now I am working side by side with that gentleman that once asked my mom how she was doing. And for that, I am very grateful. I am grateful that there are people like David Singh that take care of their farm workers, that truly care. Because 20 years later, my mom still remembers him. Thank you, David. He didn't pay me to say this, I promise. But I am very grateful with my parents because they always told us that this country is full of opportunities and that we have to take advantage of all of them. When I told my mom, I called Mom in Oaxaca and I told her, "Mom, you won't believe it. Mayor of Oceanside invited me to speak." And my mom was so proud. I recently published my first book, Cosechando Sueños, Harvesting Dreams. Because one of my biggest goals is to encourage other students to continue with their education. Now I am part of the Human Resources Department of West Coast Tomatoes. But in the evenings, I go to schools and speak to students. I speak to domestic violence survivors as well. I speak to nonprofit organizations, and I am always sharing my story with my community. Because being a resident of Oceanside, I know what are the struggles of our residents. And I love to share with them that if a person like me, a person that didn't know how to speak English, a person that went through domestic violence, a teenage mom who dropped out of high school, was able to make it and get a high school diploma, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, then they can accomplish more than me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Erika. David, come on up. Can we have a picture? Angie, can you do a picture? Yes. We're going to do a picture real quick. But I just want to say that it was a really great tour. I left that out at the beginning. It was a tour. This is an annual tour that is done at the Singh Farm, and with a lot of agencies. And I was really impressed that we were able to get on the same bus that the farm workers use to get to the fields, and then be able to talk to some of the workers, and then also that they were able to speak. to us. And it's just a phenomenal thing to be able to, and there are two real big problems for farming, right? Of course, it's always labor, labor and water. And what the Singh family has done in kind of pioneering the use of the H-2 visa to go into Mexico, and it was like with no preparation, David, right? You just did it, right? And it's successful, and that over 80%, what did you say, 95%? 95% of those workers return back to work on the farm. So it's fantastic. Several states in Mexico, how many states? He travels a lot. So thank you very much. We're just going to have a picture here. Can I be in the middle? Thank you. Very thankful for the food that we have. We were able to have farm to table. Thank you so much, and for your lovely, lovely story. Thank you, Erika. Kathy Kinane, come on down. Not in her usual turkey. So this is a proclamation in honor of the 16th annual, believe it or not, Oceanside Turkey Trot. And that, of course, is going to be next Thursday, Thanksgiving morning. Whereas Kinane Events, established in 1991, and which has managed over 180 large participatory sporting events, will again be organizing this year's Oceanside Turkey Trot on Thanksgiving Day in Oceanside, the 16th annual, and one of the largest events in San Diego County. And whereas Oceanside Turkey Trot, started in Oceanside in 2006, has raised over $321,000 for local schools and other nonprofit organizations, with over 10,000 participants, bringing many visitors from different countries all over the world to our city of Oceanside. And whereas Kathy Kinane, president of Kinane Events, who qualified for the first United States Women's Olympic Marathon Trials in 1984, and has been recognized as Race Director of the Year by Competitor Magazine, is passionate about fitness and health and about giving back to her community. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor Sanchez, on behalf of the City of Oceanside, do hereby proclaim November 25th, 2021, which is Thanksgiving Day, as also Oceanside Turkey Trot Day in the City of Oceanside, and urge all citizens to participate in this morning of health, fitness, and fun, and to move your feet before you eat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esther, and the City Council members. We're so excited to be live in downtown Oceanside this year. And this is Gary Nessum, my partner, and one of our board members of the Move Your Feet Before You Eat Foundation. When we started the foundation, our goal was to help solve the healthcare crisis by motivating people to move their feet before they eat. And we're so thankful to the sponsors, the city, the participants, everyone that participates and helps lead the way in that effort. We have a long way to go, but we're going to get there. And yeah, I think we've had 120,000 people participate over the last 15 years, that we've encouraged them to come and see what a beautiful town Oceanside is and see this beautiful course. We were voted by Runner's World as one of the top turkey traits in the country because of the course and the warm environment of all the people. Oh, this is fabulous. We really appreciate it. I'm sorry I couldn't get more board members here. And we do want to invite everybody. Can I get Thomas to cue that up? Thanks. Angelica Campos from Channel 10 is our spokesperson this year, and we're honored to have her.
Hi, I'm Oceanside resident and Channel 10 News meteorologist Angelica Campos. I have been part of the Oceanside Turkey Trot for the last 6 years. It is presented by Tri-City Medical Center, and it's right along the beach. It is gorgeous. Please come, move your feet before you eat on Thanksgiving morning and run America's most beautiful turkey trot. Proceeds benefit the Move Your Feet Foundation and many local nonprofit organizations. Registered at oceansideturkeytrot.com.
So that's kind of it in a nutshell. We're going to be out there Thanksgiving morning. We have a 5-mile, a 5K kids run. And as of right now, we're projecting about 7,000 people. They're coming from 4 countries right now and 42 states. So we're very excited. I hope some of you will join us this morning. And thank you so much for the proclamation. Appreciate it.
Thank you for everything you do for us, Kathy. Can we have a picture? Yes. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. I do have a request to move something up at this point, at this time, and I'm going to ask Ms. Samantha Holt to come on up. Under item number 26, she's B. She's from the Armed Services YMCA's programs and services offered throughout this year and during the holidays for our service members and their families stationed at Camp Pendleton.
Thank you. Thank you for having me this evening. Yes, my name is Samantha. I'm from the Armed Services YMCA here on Camp Pendleton. We've been there for about 77 years serving our military community. We focused on junior enlisted families. We have several programs and services aboard the base. I'll quickly go over a few, but we'll talk about the holidays the majority of the time. So we have a recreation center on the north end of base for our young Marines just out of boot camp who cannot leave the base and need a place for recreation on the weekends. We also provide after-school programs in two school districts. There's 5 elementary schools on Camp Pendleton. We're in each one of them with a low-cost to no-cost tutoring program after school. We also provide essential childcare aboard the base, trying to get our spouses back into the community and able to work. Childcare is a huge issue, not only for the Marine Corps, but of course across the community. We also provide a food and diaper distribution the 4th Friday of every month. We partner with Jewish Family Services and the San Diego Food Bank. The numbers of participants has increased tremendously since COVID. Obviously, the challenges with employment and things like that has made it challenging for our families to make it month to month. We also have preschool programs, early education, and things like that for our young military spouses and their children to get their sights set on their young educational journeys. One of the things I wanted to talk about this evening was our holiday programs. Typically on Thanksgiving Day, we send about 1,200 Marines home into the community to have a nice Thanksgiving dinner. Unfortunately, for the last 2 years, that's been canceled. We hope to promote that again in 2022, but we will not cancel our holiday programs. We serve about 600 families. 300 of them come into what's called a Santa's Workshop. The community donates toys and gift cards and vouchers for the commissary so that they can have a holiday meal. Families that are referred to us are referred by the commands on the base or agencies that have been in the homes and can tell that they need extra assistance for the holidays. Those families then get to come and pick out toys and bikes and things like that for their children. The other program we have is called Secret Santa. That's where a community member can adopt a military family who has filled out a wish list. They'll then provide those gifts and then come to our office and pick those up for the holidays. It's a challenge for our young military families because they're far from home. A lot of them cannot afford to travel home, so we try and make the holidays as special as we can for them. So the way that we would love to reach out to the Oceanside community is anybody who wants to get involved and come and volunteer to work with our young military families, to support us, whether you want to do toy drives or just adopt a military family, we would very much appreciate it. So I have been around Oceanside for about 31 years. My husband and I were in high school from Northern California. He joined the Marine Corps, did 22 years, and then retired. So I love the community. I love our military community, and always look forward to any support that the Oceanside community can give us. So,
Thank you very much, Samantha. And
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez would like to say something.
yes.
Thank you so much for coming. What is the best website that the community can go to get involved or donate or support?
Sure. I gave you each flyers, but
Yeah.
also it's just Armed Services YMCA, Camp Pendleton.
Okay, so just Google it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just saying for those that are watching, not for me individually.
Oh,
There's
sure.
those that are watching. When I was a young Marine, when I first came to Camp Pendleton, I mean, we had like nothing. We were going to the Goodwills to get furniture. I didn't know how I was going to do Christmas. And the YMCA and the Secret Santa programs back then, they've like filled our Christmas tree with gifts that we would not be able to afford. So it's a huge blessing for young military families. It blessed my family when I was young and didn't have all the money in the world. And so thank you guys for everything you do. And I'll definitely get the word out. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the whole goal. We like I said, we've been on Camp Pendleton for 77 years. Most people think of the YMCA as a swim and gym. we don't have a pool and we don't have a gym. So it's a little bit different on base. We do have 13 branches across the United States that serve Hawaii, Alaska, and other military communities. And our main focus is junior enlisted families. And just like you said, they just need that little extra help, whether it's food or gas or support during the holidays. So thankful that we were able to help you out.
Thank you. And the website is AS for Armed Services, so asymca.org/Camp Pendleton.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Samantha.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a closed session report. Item number 4, Mr. Mullen?
Thank you. There was no meeting on item 1 on the agenda. On item 2, council had a conference with a real property negotiator involving the property located at 333 Garrison Street. Negotiating parties, City of Oceanside and Oceanside Unified School District. Under negotiations are price and terms for the acquisition of the property. Item 2B, conference with a real property negotiator involving the property located at 2188 Willowbrook Drive and 2218 Willowbrook Drive. Negotiating parties, City of Oceanside and Travis and Cora Mellum. Under negotiation, price and terms for an acquisition of the real property. We discussed both those items, but there's no action under the Brown Act to report on items 2A and B. There was no meeting on item 2C. Finally, with respect to item 3, council met to discuss pending litigation in the matter of Daigle versus City of Oceanside. Again, that matter was discussed, direction was provided, but there was no reportable action under the Brown Act at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen. Next are consent calendar items, which are items 5 through 21. Staff has pulled off the agenda item number 17. Is there a motion to pass?
I have a quick question on 18, so if we want to, I'll make a motion to approve the balance, but I just have a question about it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote. Okay, item
Motion
number,
approved, 5-0.
thank you very much. Item number 18. That is adoption of a resolution declaring a temporary shelter crisis in the city of Oceanside from November 1st, 2021 through April 15th, 2022, and suspending the zoning ordinance requirement to allow churches to shelter homeless persons without obtaining a conditional use permit.
Ms. Larson, I know, and I apologize for not emailing you this question prior to the council meeting, but we are moving on a shelter as a city, and this is something that we've done for years now as a city to open it up to help the community. So is this just a formality, or, I mean, now that we are moving on a shelter, how appropriate is this? And if you can kind of just address that briefly, just so we know we're not just doing it just because we've always done it.
Councilmember Rodriguez, Mayor, and Councilmember Stiana Larson, City Manager. So you will have an item on the agenda later tonight to discuss the agreement for the shelter. However, that's not expected to be open until late spring at the earliest. So this temporary shelter crisis resolution will cover the winter season this year in the event that any churches want to step up to provide shelter, as well as to help coordinate with the Alliance for Regional Solutions and the Regional Shelter Program that you actually just approved on the agenda as well. So there is still a need for it this year.
Okay, yeah, because we still have the hotel voucher program as well.
Correct.
Okay. We're hitting it from every angle, so we're good. Thank you.
Motion to approve?
Yes, make a motion to approve that, please.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you very much. We now are on general items. First item is number 22, authorization to award a contract to EC Constructors of Lakeside in the amount of $10,472,120 for the construction of the San Luis Rey Water Reclamation Facility, approval of a professional services agreement with Boutier Engineering of Tustin in the amount of $909,250 for construction management and inspection services, authorization for the city engineer to approve change orders of up to $1,047,212 on the construction agreement, and authorization for the city manager to execute the agreements upon receipt of all supporting documents. We have a report by Lindsay Leahy, Principal Water Engineer. Ms. Leahy?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Lindsay Leahy with the Water Utilities Department, here tonight to recommend award of contract for the construction of the San Luis Rey Maintenance Facility. Tonight, staff is recommending an award of contract to EC Constructors for the construction of the maintenance building, approve a professional services agreement with Boutier Engineering for construction management services, and authorizing the city engineer to approve change orders up to 10% of the original contract value. A little background on San Luis Rey Water Reclamation Facility. It was originally constructed in the 1970s. In 2003, the major expansion of the facility was completed, which included construction of a laboratory, admin building, and primarily the odor control facilities at the site, as well as process tanks. It's important to note that there were no upgrades to the maintenance facilities during that upgrade. In 2020, plans were completed and ready for building permit review. And also in 2020, staff and council authorized to execute an agreement with the architects to support during building permits and also implement any design changes during that building permit process, as well as to keep the architect on during construction for support. Currently, the maintenance facility that is on site at San Luis Rey is inadequate for the division's current needs. This department and this division is responsible for a lot of heavy equipment, rebuild of pumps, rebuild of motors, welding, and the current facility does not allow for the complete operation of that workload. The new maintenance building will provide adequate workspace, both with the hands-on as well as office space, as well as being in full compliance with all of OSHA standards to implement that work. The existing maintenance building that is on site is planned to be retrofitted as part of this contract and tenant improvements completed, which will accommodate our water field maintenance group, which is currently housed and located out of the COC. This would allow the water utility to centralize all of our maintenance operations from San Luis Rey. And finally, the plans include construction of a new storage building to storage large materials, which are currently housed outside. So this includes water and sewer pipes, as well as large pumps that are used during bypass operations and construction work. This is a site overview of San Luis Rey with north facing to the left. The top right corner, just to orient everyone, if you've been on site, is the admin building, which is normally where everyone goes on site. The purple highlighted area is where the new maintenance building would be located. And the orange highlights the existing maintenance building, which would become the water field maintenance crew room and storage facility. And finally, the green square locates where the material storage building would be for all the large pipes. On September 1st of 2021, 2 bids were received and publicly opened. The engineer's estimate was just under $10.6 million for the project, and EC Constructors was the apparent low bidder with a bid below the engineer's estimate. The next day, we did receive a bid protest from the other bidder for the work. Staff and the city attorney reviewed this protest and determined that all issues were either incorrect or waivable and correctable, which is allowed by the public contracting code. None of these issues raised provided any sort of competitive advantage to the apparent low bidder. The issues that were raised was that the bid package was not properly signed, which is a waivable and correctable item, that the notary acknowledgement was missing from the bid bond, again, waivable and correctable, that the subcontractor was not properly licensed was incorrect, and that there were discrepancies in the unit price versus total price in the bid, which was also incorrect. With that, EC Constructors was deemed lowest responsive and responsible bidder, and staff is recommending award. In parallel, a request for proposals was issued and 3 proposals were received and evaluated on August 10th of 2021, with Boutier Engineering ranked highest based on qualifications and responsiveness. Currently available in the project account is just under $5.7 million, with the total estimated construction costs, including contingency and construction or consultant contracts, being just over $12.5 million. At the end of this project, there would be approximately $134,000 remaining in the account. Again, the construction contingency is used for unforeseen conditions, and any remaining contingency would be returned to fund balance. And in this case, this is coming from the sewer flow and service charges from our sewer fixed asset replacement fund. And with that, staff is recommending award of contract to EC Constructors, approval of a professional services agreement to Boutier Engineering, and authorizing the city engineer to approve change orders up to 10% of the original contract value. I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have any requests to speak from the public, Mr.
There are
Navarro?
no requests to speak from the public on this item.
Thank you. Back to the City Council, Deputy Mayor Keim.
Move approval.
Okay, is there a second? There's a motion and a second. No other requests to speak. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. We're on item number 23. This is approval of a property use agreement with the San Diego Rescue Mission for a 3-year term for the purpose of the development, construction, and operation of a 50-bed housing navigation center for the unsheltered to be located at 3131 Oceanside Boulevard, and authorization for the city manager to execute the agreement. We're going to begin with a report from Leilani Heinz, Housing and Neighborhood Services Director.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council, and public here this evening. The City of Oceanside, in collaboration with its community partners, has been a leader in the region in addressing the growing needs and concerns of homeless and the unsheltered in our city of Oceanside that they call home. As a city, we've been one of the first out there to deploy a homeless outreach team through our police department that's included outreach and social service workers. We as a city have supported a sobering center, one of its kind in San Diego County. And as Councilmember Rodriguez has pointed out, we're doing a lot. We're hitting it on all bases. And we offer various stages of housing options, from a bridge housing in a congregate setting and then hotel motel vouchers, allowing our homeless and our unsheltered to start the work of recovery and healing. Tonight, we're here to consider the crucial next step to Oceanside's response to addressing the needs of our unsheltered. Tonight, Council will be considering the approval of a property use agreement for a 3-year term with San Diego Rescue Mission as the operator of a 50-bed housing navigation center in our community to be located at 3131 Oceanside Boulevard, formerly known as the Ocean Shores High School campus. Over a year ago, in September 2020, Council directed staff to issue a notice of funding availability and prioritize those proposals for a homeless shelter and housing to assist persons experiencing homelessness and extremely low income families and individuals. That NOFA and RFP was then issued in March 2021. The city received 2 responsive proposals, one from the Rescue Mission and then one from Interfaith Community Services. At its meeting on June 30th, after hearing proposals and responses from the applicant and also hearing from the public that night, Council did select San Diego Rescue Mission as the operator of this proposed shelter. The site of our new navigation center is at 3131 Oceanside Boulevard. We currently do own the property now. In addition to the shelter, we will also be co-locating our Code Enforcement Division offices there, as well as our Oceanside Police Training Facility. So there will be a direct connection of the shelter to the city, and accountability, just plain basically on our physical location of the site. The site is in close proximity to transit along a major corridor with self-storage, open space as its surrounding uses. So the facility is being proposed as what we call a low barrier navigation center. What does that mean? Low barrier, meaning that requirements for entry are limited and minimal. And because those barriers to keep a roof over the head of our unsheltered have been taken down and eliminated, residents can now focus and spend time on those resources and those issues that are holding them back and that are the root causes of their homelessness. A navigation center is housing or shelter where a resident who's homeless or at risk of homeless can stay for a temporary basis before moving into a more appropriate or permanent housing solution. The center is intended to be short-term for up to 30 days. There is some flexibility given to those who may need just a little bit more time to make that transition into a more appropriate housing. So it may exceed 30 days, but that'll be considered on a case-by-case basis. That 30 days also allows for If someone is able to work on their issues and to get into more appropriate housing, then it allows that bed to be freed up and the next person making that bed available so that they can receive the necessary housing, the necessary services. As a housing facility, the center will be compliant with all federal and state fair housing laws, ensuring non-discrimination for those protected classes. And then to minimize impact on neighbors, the center will not receive direct walk-ins. Referrals and placement into the center will be done through a process that prioritizes OPD hot clients, prioritizes the housing authority's clients, and so there will not be walk-ins. Ultimately, it's the services and the support that they receive through San Diego Rescue Mission and the collaborations that are made with community partners that really will make the difference for our unsheltered. Providing a safe place to stay removes worry, anxiety from our homeless, so residents can focus on the help that they need to help them achieve housing stability. San Diego Rescue Mission intends to be a good neighbor and a partner in our community, and is with all the properties that they currently operate. They have a good neighbor policy that provides 24/7 security on site, no loitering around the property, and nightly curfews for its participants. And then with all programs that we fund through Housing and Neighborhood Services, whether it's through CDBG or HOME or other programs, we do monitor each funded program with the applicable requirements of the funding source. We receive monthly and quarterly reports on all of the programs and then monitor them for compliance with the executed agreements. Additionally, project outcomes will also be reported to the Regional Task Force on the Homeless through their Homeless Management Information System. So for our budget, to provide the center for the benefit of our community, housing financial resources will be used. We'll be using our annual entitlement of permanent local housing allocations from the state. At this time, we're also recommending our inclusionary housing funds to pay for the cost of developing, constructing, equipping, and furnishing the facility. We anticipate that to be just almost $4.1 million. Should the city receive additional funding from other resources, then we would come back and replace and reimburse the inclusionary housing fund. In turn, San Diego Rescue Mission will provide from its own local resources their costs for operating the facility over the term of the agreement, valued at about $3 million for the 3-year term. If that term is extended, then could be valued at $5 million to the city. So with approval tonight of the property use agreement, San Diego Rescue Mission is ready to start. They'll begin their permitting process as soon as they get approval, get construction underway, as soon as all those permits are approved, and it's our hope that at the beginning of 2022, the construction will begin and occupancy occurring by late spring, maybe early summer 2022. With that, that concludes staff's presentation this evening. Staff recommends that the City Council approve the property use agreement with San Diego Rescue Mission for the 3-year term for the purpose of developing, constructing, and operating the 50-bed Housing Navigation Center for the unsheltered to be located at 3131 Oceanside Boulevard, authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement upon receipt of all supporting documents and the appropriations therefore. I'd also like to introduce here with me, present representing San Diego Rescue Mission, is Mr. Donnie D., Edvin, and Paul Armstrong, and they are available here to answer any specific questions that relate to the construction of the facility or the operation of the center as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have one request to speak, is that?
Yes, we do. Max Esposti?
Hello, good evening, council members. Just a couple of clarification. I read the contract, so perhaps maybe even the city attorney can help us. There was a letter of the ACLU that was sharing some of the concerns in the past few months, especially in dedicating a private religious institution some public land. Many things were clear, but one of the recommendations of the ACLU specifically about the population that we serve, by the way, Max Esposti, LGBT Center, North County, resident of Oceanside, I apologize. It So one of the items of the ACLU letter in particular with the concern we expressed in the past meetings a few months ago was specifically about recommendation for the city of Oceanside to take affirmative steps to ensure the LGBT people experiencing homelessness do not face discrimination or harassment at the shelter. So I did read the contract. Obviously, the contract makes references to state of California law, which is very inclusive and protective of LGBT people. But what we were talking about is not just about, hey, don't discriminate because the state of California doesn't allow you to. It's about putting policies in places that are affirming. And what that means, you don't know what you don't know. This is not a personal attack to the San Diego shelter. I mean, it's not, but they don't have any experience about serving a population that counts for half of the homeless youth in North San Diego County. So I'm a little bit concerned because I would like to see some, in the contracts, just few words that could make the institution more accountable than already are in relation to, for instance, institute contracts or relationships with any organization, doesn't have to be others, that can train them properly in the intake process, in understanding trauma for the LGBT community, how it's experienced through shelters, because we are the population that experience the highest level of violence within the shelters, so it is a concern. So I would like to see a contract that puts a little bit more than just the state of California doesn't discriminate, because we don't know what we don't know, right? So it's not about, pinning anybody down. It's kind of like me opening, I don't know, a veteran center, pretending to know about veterans, and then people tell me, hey, do you know anything about it? Well, a little bit. I think I learn as I go. That's not the way to provide experience, culturally competent services. So if I can see a little bit more, it could be a references to the letter the ACLU has published, which I don't know if the city has responded to yet, so I'm not aware of. Or something that's really specific about asking the San Diego Rescue Mission to engage affirmatively in training their staff, their volunteers, the people on site, and making sure that also people that are at the shelter don't pursue actions that could be anti-LGBT people that might be present on the premises. So that was my concern. I hope we can take it in considerations. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Disposti. Mr. Mullen, I know I asked you some questions about this before the meeting. Could you refer to the parts of the contract that apply to this? And we will be having ongoing monitoring, and perhaps we can at some point add some additional language.
Well, if the council wants to add additional language, we could do that. There is language in the contract that addresses this specific issue. It's section 6.14 of the property use agreement, and it reads, in relevant part, permittee agrees not to discriminate in any manner against or cause segregation of any person or persons on account of race, marital status, familial status, sex, gender, gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, among many other protected classifications under federal and state law. And their proposal that they submitted to us discussed that they would engage in reasonable accommodations on a case-by-case basis for each of the individual cases that are brought to their attention. I don't know how to prescribe a rule that discusses every potential situation, but they've committed to, in their proposal, to engage in those reasonable accommodations on a case-by-case basis, and they've agreed to comply with the non-discrimination clause as it's laid out in this property use agreement, which is broader than our typical. It's been broadened, in my estimation, to address some of the issues that Max discussed. And I'm sure Mr. D can address how he intends to deal with these situations as well.
Okay. Well, I'll get to that. Councilmember Rodriguez, did you want, your light is on.
I just wanted to invite San Diego Rescue. Did you have anything you guys wanted to say? Or, just in general, this is a...
Well, just other than that, I share Max's concern. I know that he cares about his constituents. He said, we don't know, but we've been doing this for 70 years, and never have we discriminated. Never have we not allowed somebody entrance to the San Diego Rescue Mission because of some belief or value or behavior. If they're homeless, then we want to help them get off the streets permanently, period, and we do not discriminate.
Absolutely. No, thank you for that. I'm really excited for the future of our city in helping those in need. and not just from a compassionate standpoint, but also from an accountable standpoint, because individuals that are homeless, they have the capacity to be the best they can be in this world, whether that's sitting up here on the dais, going to college, reuniting with their family, whatever it is. And so the City of Oceanside, we're really taking a lead to address homelessness on a core root level. And I'm so proud of our city, and I thank my colleagues and the city staff of Oceanside for all the hard work over the last 5-10 years on this issue. So I like everything I see. I wanted to ask one question with respect to the inclusionary, the housing in lieu funds. From my understanding, some of the COVID funding that we received as a city, how was it determined that inclusionary housing funds were best to be used versus being able to kind of retrofit some of those funds that had gray area assignments, so to speak?
Councilmember Rodriguez, Mayor, and council members. The ARPA funds that the city received did include funding set aside for homelessness. We are using those funds to operate the temporary motel voucher program, and because of the time frame that we expect that to need to be operating until this opens, we do not believe there will be additional funds left over. Additionally, the staff report did address that we do expect to receive an earmark from Congress because of Congressman Levin of a little over $2 million towards this project, assuming the federal budget is approved and that remains in the budget proposal. Those funds, if received, would reimburse or take the place of the in lieu funds from the city.
Got it. And just for the community to be aware, the inclusionary housing funds or in lieu fees is paid for by the development community to go toward affordable housing or even things like homelessness. So this isn't taxpayer money. This is fees paid for by the development community that we're able to leverage to help offset the costs and offset our general fund. But so with that being said, I'd like to move approval. I'm really excited to get this up and running.
Councilmember Weiss? Deputy Mayor Keim?
I just have a couple quick questions for Mr. D. Through the process, some of my constituents in surrounding neighborhoods have been concerned just with other issues we've had with services that have been provided in the city and impacts to those neighborhoods. So can I just get a commitment that we're going to do everything we can, work with those surrounding communities and make sure that we don't have any impact on quality of life?
Absolutely. I would tell you that from the Standing Rescue Mission standpoint, we want to get as many people off the streets as we possibly can, but it's also important for us to be a good neighbor. We know that there's a lot of activity, businesses, homes, parks, schools that aren't too far from where we're going to be setting up our navigation center, and you have my 100% commitment that we're going to run that with excellence. For those of you that have been downtown and have toured our facility, you know that there's not any loitering, there's not any tenant encampments. We've done a pretty good job of being a good neighbor down in Bankers Hill, and so we know how to do this, and you have my commitment.
And that was, when this initially came to us, I did vote no, with the main concern just being location. Those concerns are raised by the community, but I do think tonight, in starting our first shelter, that it would be good to have a consensus on the dais and a unanimous vote to move this forward. So thank you very much for your hard work and getting this going so quickly.
Thank you. And no other lights. I do have some questions because, and I'm back to Max Disposti's concerns, because as a person of color and a person who has been treated differently, sometimes it's not overt, and you know what you know until you don't know. I have to say that I have been attending some of the programs from the LGBTQ Resource Center, and hearing some of the stories of the community, things I've learned a lot, especially from those who have had suffered from the kind of treatment, be it their families, but be it also from service providers. So my question is, are you willing to get training done for those who are going to be doing intake especially? How are people going to be treated internally if they do identify in terms of gender identity? Is that something you're going to be sensitive to? And is that something that you're committing to make sure that goes on through the life of the program?
Yeah. It breaks my heart how we treat each other in society. Just in general, it breaks my heart, especially as it relates to people who are experiencing homelessness. We look past them, we walk past them, we judge them. We don't know their story, we don't know anything about them, and I think that's something that we need to change. It also breaks my heart that as a Christian organization that because churches have been so judgmental over the years around issues of that we're perceived as being in that group. And we've been doing this for a long time. We care about people who are living on the streets. It breaks our hearts that there's people that are sleeping on the streets tonight. And I can promise you that anybody that comes into our facility is going to feel loved, is going to feel cared for, and is going to feel like they've got hope for the very first time in their life.
So will you agree to have on-site training?
Well, I'm not sure why that's necessary. We take all of our staff through training. We take all of our staff through trauma-informed care training. We've been doing this for a very, very, very long time. And I can have my VP of programs explain to you some of the trainings that we go through, but we feel like that what we do puts us in the best position to help the individual, all individuals that come into our facility, regardless of their background, regardless of their values, regardless of their beliefs. And so I'm not sure that I feel like that's important for our organization to be able to do that. And so something that we could consider, but not sure why we're spending so much time. I have reached out to Max prior to the last city council meeting. I reached out to him. He's never been down to our facility. He doesn't know anything about us.
Can I ask you to stop right there, because I don't have that much time, and I see Max raising his hand. So I asked you a question, and the question is, would you be willing to do specific training, especially for the intake and gender identity issues, and you said you don't think you need it. Max, I'd like you to come up and explain why you feel that it is necessary. Sorry, tight timeline here.
I appreciate that. Again, this is not personal. We're just requesting what, we have a history in our county. We train different service providers, the Women Resource Center, Lifeline, Interfaith, on and on, the YMCA. They all understand the importance of training because your specialized service, homelessness is not the same everywhere you go. I know you've been serving for many years. I don't judge that. There is a problem. You have zero records of serving LGBT people. Go to Lifeline, go to Interfaith, there is a record of serving LGBT people. That record speaks volume about my staff talks to your staff. We don't even know each other. My staff talks to the staff of Interfaith or Lifeline. We understand trauma. When we say there is not every trauma is different. There's trauma of veterans and trauma of LGBT folks. They experience violence also from some religious institutions. So my thing, I don't have any problem with the contract. I don't have a problem about you folks serving. I'm a little bit concerned that it's so easy to say, yes, the simple thing you can do, we'll reach out to train our folks to be LGBT competent, because I think you're not because I'm attacking you, because you don't know what you don't know. And we're specialized in the community. When speaking for my community, not just in Oceanside, North San Diego County, the fact that this is not taken into consideration, I think it's a little bit alarming to me. I'm not asking to reject the proposal. I can't wait for the shelter to be open. I want to make sure that there are things in place that are not just general California law, with all the respect, city attorney, but California law says even more than what has been written on that paperwork. But we need to go in affirming practices that can only be established if you know who you're serving when it comes to LGBT folks. So far, if nothing comes out, our LGBT community will define this space unsafe to serve the public in Oceanside. And I think this is going to be a problem. All I'm asking is to do training. You don't have to do it through us. I'm not asking for contracts, money, none of that. I need competency, and I apologize for the time. But that's all I'm asking.
Thank you. So I'm just going to ask you if you'd be willing to do the training. give the training. If not, that's all I'm asking. I'm not asking you to explain anything else because I think I heard you loud and clear.
I want to help people get off the streets.
Right.
So
Thank
why
you very
this
much.
is a requirement.
Thank you very much.
We're
Thank you, sir.
We're
Sir,
committing
thank
to
you very
spending
much.
$1 million
Listen, if you want to have
of money that we
Sir,
raise.
you're out of order, okay? You can have somebody else ask you because I'm down to less than 4 minutes here. Councilmember Jensen.
Yes, I would like to ask you more about the training, and maybe you could go over your protocol and what your training is going to be.
Absolutely. So, hi, my name is Paul Armstrong. I'm a Vice President of Programs. I have my master's in social work from the University of Southern California. I do understand anyone who's ever been to USC, gone through their Master's of Social Work program, knows that this is a specific area of training that is provided to all master's level programs. My Director of Therapeutic Services has her PhD and also has received training. We do internal training on trauma-informed care. We understand that. We do training on person-centered approaches. We demonstrate compassion. We do serve transgendered in our emergency shelter downtown San Diego. We do serve LGBTQ in our both year-long program and our emergency shelter. So we actually do this, and we do have the training and technical competency on our staff to provide the training needed for our team. So the training will be provided, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it seems as though we're addressing a problem that has not yet occurred. And as the mother of a gay son, I will be, of course, involved with the shelter. And if there's issues, I will be the first one to raise them. And so, Max, I assure you that they will be properly trained in addressing LGBTQ needs. And let's not cross bridges we haven't come to yet. I have complete confidence in the rescue mission that they will completely take care of this population. And if there's a problem, we'll address it at that time.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
I would further like to say that it's disappointing, Max, representing that community, that you haven't taken an hour out of your day to reach out to them in representing the community that you advocate for and go learn a little more about them. That's disappointing, and it only goes to show that you came here tonight to push your identity politics, which you have every right to do. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so there is a motion and a second. I do want to add, I think I had, about 4 minutes, 3:56, 3:55, that it's not good enough what you said to me. We actually have our police department, which obviously has good training, but in addition, they supplement their training. And so that's what I was looking for here, is an acknowledgement. I mean, I've heard the same information, and I'm not gay, that Max has heard about the problems that your facility in downtown San Diego has within the gay community. So I was hoping that you would be a little bit more interested in getting a little more training here so that no problems will come up. Yes, they will come up. Unfortunately, they will come up because there are certain biases that are ingrained in people. But the only way to address it is be very, very proactive and allow that kind of training to happen on site. So I can't support this with that kind of attitude and not acknowledging that there is a problem. So Councilmember Jensen.
Do we have documented problems that we're speaking of, or are we just speaking?
Okay, please vote.
Motion approved, 4-1. Sanchez, no.
Thank you very much. We're on our public hearing items. Item number 24, which is adoption of a resolution establishing the adopted text changes to Article 4 and 30 of the zoning ordinance relating to emergency shelters as part of the implementing document of the local coastal program. I'm going to go ahead and open this public hearing and request disclosures from council members and regarding constituent contacts and correspondence. Staff.
Staff.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, do we have any correspondence and or petitions?
We have not received any correspondence or petition on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and begin testimony with Shannon Vitale, Associate Planner. Ms. Vitale?
Hi, good evening. Honorable Mayor, City Council, Shannon Vitale, Associate Planner with the Development Services Department. I'm here tonight to discuss Agenda Item 24 pertaining to emergency shelters. Staff is recommending the City Council adopt a resolution to establish text changes to Article 4 and 30 of the City Zoning Ordinance as part of the implementing document of the local coastal program. The previously adopted Emergency Shelter Zone Amendment, ZA 21-3, revised the zoning ordinance to allow emergency shelters by right on certain city-owned properties and modified the development and operational standards for emergency shelters to align with state guidelines. On June 16th, the City Council unanimously voted approval to introduce the ordinance amending Articles 4, 11, 13, 16, and 30 of the zoning ordinance to reflect the proposed zoning text amendment, and the ordinance was adopted on August 4th of this year. The resolution before you tonight is to incorporate the amended text of Articles 4 and 30 as approved by the zone amendment into the implementing document of the local coastal program. There are no further changes proposed as part of this motion. Although emergency shelters are not allowed in the coastal zone, two of the zoning articles that were revised as part of the zone amendment, Articles 4 and 30, are effective citywide, and any revisions to those articles require a local coastal program amendment that must be certified by the Coastal Commission. As a reminder, Article 4 was amended to revise the use classification for emergency shelter to allow for longer stays and more services offered. Article 30 was revised to incorporate new development standards and site regulations for emergency shelters pursuant to state guidelines. This item was brought before the Planning Commission on November 8th, and the Commission recommended approval of the local coastal program. In conclusion, staff is recommending the City Council adopt a resolution to approve local coastal program LCPA 21-3, thereby establishing the adopted text of Articles 4 and 30 as part of the implementing document of the local coastal program. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Clerk. Do we have anyone who signed up to speak on this item?
We have not.
Okay, this is a public hearing. This is a time for the public to speak on this issue. If you wish to speak, you do not have to have requested or signed a request to speak slip beforehand. Just come up to the podium and state your name, and you've got 3 minutes.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. This seems to have one topic tonight. This is really unique. And it's all interrelated. And one thing that was left over from your last item that's also interrelated with this item and from a previous item that you were talking about. The last item that had on there, it's a question, because you said that the homeless shelter that would be there is only by referral, and people cannot show up. This is for emergency shelter. Is this going to address for those people who show up that day to take, and they have a need for shelter, or are they going to be kicked out and told, like on a rainy night, let's say a mother and some children, no, sorry, we're told by the city we can't take and accept you. What is their alternative? Is that going to be covered in something of this or not? You know, it just reminds me of the question, was there room in the inn? You have the question, you have the answers. I please ask for your recommendation.
Thank you very much. Any other persons wishing to speak on this item? Please provide, thank you, ma'am. Please provide your name.
No, I was non-agenda public comment. So
No, that's, are you on this item?
No, I'm
Okay.
just non-agenda public comment.
Thank you. Well, I see no one else wishing to speak on this item, so I'm going to go ahead and close the this portion of the public hearing and go actually to staff to respond to Mr. Knott. Mr. Mullen, did you
I'll
wish
take a
to-
shot at it if I understood his question. So many months ago, you introduced and adopted a zone amendment to allow emergency shelters on city-owned property by right without having to go through a discretionary review process. The item before you tonight is simply a local coastal plan amendment to implement your prior action. We didn't have time to do the LCP amendment back when we did the ordinance because we wanted to get it through and approved. But now, because this is a citywide ordinance, we have to make it a component of the local coastal plan amendment. So all you're doing is taking that zone amendment and making it part of the LCPA. So it makes shelters easier to cite.
Thank you, very much, Mr. Mullen. Back to the council, Councilmember Weiss.
Move approval, staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, I think those were the two who had lights up. Okay, there's a motion and a second, please. Title? Is it title? Is it, or just move the?
It's just the
It's just a
reso for the
resolution,
LCPA.
okay.
We
There's a
already did
motion
the
and a
ordinance.
second, please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you very much. We're on item number 25, and this is adoption of a resolution adjusting fees for water meter equipment, installation, utility services, and equipment provided by the city in order to fully recover the costs associated with providing the services. I'm going to go ahead and open this public hearing and request disclosures from council members regarding constituent contacts and correspondence. I believe I did get a few emails on this.
Staff.
Okay, and Mr. Novato, do we have any correspondence and or petitions?
The city clerk's office has not received any correspondence or petition on this item.
Thank you very much. So we're going to go ahead and begin the testimony with Michael Newton, Administrative Analyst.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members. My name is Michael Newton. I'm an Administrative Analyst with the Water Utilities Department. Here to discuss with you this evening the proposed fee update for water utility services. Staff is recommending tonight that the City Council adopt a resolution adjusting fees for water meter equipment, installation, utility services, and equipment provided by the city in order to fully recover those costs associated with providing the services. Periodically, we review our fees to ensure that we are collecting sufficient fees to fully recover the costs of personnel, equipment, and supplies. Right now, the city is on an approximately 2-year cycle with the two previous adjustments to our fees occurring in March of 2017 and June of 2019. All of these fee adjustments reflect changes borne by the city to the costs of personnel, equipment, and supplies, and allow us to recover those costs in accordance with, in compliance with, Proposition 218 and the California State Constitution. Staff is recommending the establishment of 3 new fees, the first 2 of which are designed to fully recover the costs associated with ensuring that the devices which protect all water users from the contamination of drinking water by non-potable sources are maintained and inspected properly. As our recycled water program has matured, staff has also determined that the structure and description of those associated fees can be altered to more accurately convey costs as well as save recycled water users money. On the 2 following slides, the proposed fee adjustments are shown. Of note, those fees with an asterisk are those which are predominantly impacting commercial customers. Same as shown on this slide. The net impact to the revenue of these fee adjustments will be spread across 5 different accounts. And so our staff recommendation is that City Council adopt a resolution adjusting fees for water meter equipment, installation, utility services, and the equipment provided by the city in order to fully recover the costs associated with providing those services. This concludes my presentation, and I'm prepared to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. This is a public hearing. Do we have any slips from people request to speak?
We do not have anybody registered for this item.
Okay, this is a public hearing. This is a time for the public to give their input on this specific item. If you wish to, you can approach the podium and provide your name and then speak for up to 3 minutes. Mr. Knott.
Yes, ma'am. This is Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane, also former Utilities Commissioner, as part of my disclosure. I have just a couple of questions about how is this going to affect certain special communities? Number one, low-income communities. Number two, senior on fixed income communities. And also the manufactured home communities. Those are the areas that I have a special interest in, and they're close to my heart. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Knott. Anyone else wishing to speak, address this item? I see no one else rising. I'm going to go ahead and close this portion of the public hearing and go to staff, see if the staff can respond to the question that was posed by member of the public. Mr. Knott? Jump up, somebody.
I'll go ahead and answer that question.
Okay.
Predominantly, the fee that would impact those types of communities are the multifamily tagging charge, which is a notification that water would be turned off for non-payment. We're currently under a state order that has suspended those shutoffs until the end of the year, so that may start up again in January of 2022. I would say that would predominantly be the big fee.
We're not going backwards, we would be going forwards, correct? Right. Okay. Deputy Mayor Keim?
I can make a motion to adopt the resolution.
Okay, there's a motion to adopt. Is there a second? Second. There's a motion and a second. No other request to speak. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Number 26, advance written request to reserve time to speak. Kathy Nichol. Yes, festive. And this is on December events in downtown, lighting the menorah and the tree lighting.
Hey, you want me?
I really like that hat.
Honorable Mayor, council members, attendees, city staff, my name is Kathy Nichol. I'm going to backtrack for a minute and just thank everybody who assisted with the 20th annual Dia de los Muertos in Oceanside. It was fabulous, and the proclamation from the city was the piece de resistance. It was like we got 3 proclamations that day. The 10 volunteers that actually organized that event were ecstatic, so I just want to thank the community for all your assistance. Now, a lot of things going on. The markets will be closed on Thanksgiving next week, but of course come down for Turkey Trot that day. And we have a Thanksgiving dining guide that we just put together with a few of the restaurants that are in the downtown. We are also starting our food drive. Both Friends of Oceanside, Dia de los Muertos, and Main Street Oceanside will be doing a food drive to benefit Bread of Life in Oceanside. The 4 drops are our office, H&M, Cotton Patch, and Dorothy's. If you have any questions, please contact Main Street Oceanside or myself. That's that one, and thank you, Jimmy. Our next event will be right after Thanksgiving. We're getting ready for our Shop Local Oceanside, 'Tis the Season. The website is, of course, Shop Local Oceanside. On Saturday, the 27th, and Sunday, the 28th, we will be having a Merrymakers Fair in Lot 35 at the corner of Pierview Way and Tremont Street with 40 makers and some music. That same day, we will have a sip and shop downtown on Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. Tickets are on sale again on the same website. We are also doing a holiday challenge, which is on our Shop Local Oceanside website that will go from the 27th through the 12th of December. It's like a scavenger hunt to work with the different businesses to bring people to downtown. So a lot of great stuff going on that weekend. Thanks, Jimmy. Then, of course, the following week, the day before, on December 1st, our menorah will be lit at 6 p.m. at the Regal Plaza. And then the following day, we will have our holiday tree lighting ceremony at the Regal Plaza in conjunction with our Sunset Market holiday markets, which are starting that month. Lots of great activities, by the way. And then Sunset Market holiday gift shopping. My saying is, why go to the mall? The market has it all. Come downtown. Lots of changes in the downtown since I've been here 30 years. So we do invite everybody to come down to downtown. The following Sunday, there will be a concert at the City Plaza. Friends of Oceanside Parks and Recreation, along with the city, is doing the Mardells in the afternoon on Sunday. And then the following 2 Thursdays, tree lighting, and the following 2 Thursdays, our special guest Santa will be coming to visit everybody, where you can take your own picture with Santa. Lots of activities, of course, all 3 Thursdays. And then the second Saturday in December is our annual holiday boat parade at the harbor. That's at 1 p.m. And of course, the holiday markets are open every Thursday in December. So do your last minute shopping on the 23rd. And then if you didn't get what you wanted, or you have a couple bucks to spend, or just come visit, tired of actually cooking and dealing with the house and everything, come down. Farmers Market and Sunset Market, some great food, great farmers for the day, and of course, great gifts for the evening, live music, and we just want to see you downtown. So check us out, Main Street Oceanside, Shop Local Oceanside, and of course, sunsetmarket.com. So again, we hope to see you in the downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go to item number 29, which is request by Deputy Mayor Keim and Councilmember Weiss for a resolution for the City Council of Oceanside expressing support for actions to further strengthen local democracy, authority, and control as related to local zoning and housing issues. And that's California Cities for Local Control, which I believe has morphed into our Neighborhood Voices. Deputy Mayor Keim?
Thank you. I'm not going to reread the entire resolution, but I think this is one of the most critical issues facing our local cities is the lack of self-control that Sacramento legislators are taking from us, and where we get assembly members and senators that could be hundreds of miles away that want to make our land use decisions. And it's not just land use, it goes across the spectrum. So this is very broad, and it's critical. I really wish this could have come from the mayor. I know it's challenging when you support many of these legislators on other issues, but with this, so I hope that tonight we can have a unified front and do a unanimous vote to take our local control back, and rethink any opposition to this. I'm confident we can. So and with that, I'll pass it over to Councilmember Weiss.
Councilmember Weiss?
Thank you. Just by way of example, effective January 1st of this next year, there's a Senate Bill 9 that mandates that cities approve duplexes and lot splits of former single-family home zoned lots without any review by anybody. Planning commissions, city councils, or even the public don't get to review. They're approved by right. And that's just one example of the state forcing issues down onto local governments that we may not necessarily agree with. I would tell you, if you're out looking at this, listening to this, and have an interest in what the state is doing, that you support the recently filed state ballot initiative that would revert control of land use and zoning to local governments. Go to ourneighborhoodvoices.com. That's all one word. It used to be sponsored by the California Cities for Local Control, but now there's a ballot measure that they're trying to get enough signatures to put on the November 2022 ballot that would return local control to local agencies. It's a shame when the state, as Deputy Mayor mentioned, passes these various laws and requirements that takes the full authority away from local agencies. So I would recommend that if you're interested in this, go to ourneighborhoodvoices.com and let your state elected officials know that you're supporting local control at the local level.
Do we have any requests to speak from the public?
There are no requests to speak from the public on this item.
Okay, thank you. I have been working with other mayors on this, in fact, through the California Mayors organization, and our Neighborhood Voices has put together a resolution, a sample resolution that I hope that we can also, in the motion, direct staff to bring back. I put a copy of it on everyone's, on the dais for every council member here. And basically, it has just been titled, I want to say 2 weeks ago. It's a resolution. We have a sample resolution from the city of Redondo Beach, which is basically leading this charge. And that is a resolution of the City Council of expressing support for the Brand Huang Mendoza Tripartisan Land Use Initiative to amend Article 11 of the Constitution of the State of California to make zoning and land use community affairs and not of state interest. So I don't believe we have the motion yet, but I hope that we can include direction to staff to bring that back. So yes, that would be great. And I have Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Keim and Councilmember Weiss for your leadership in bringing this forward. I strongly support this. We need to protect our neighborhoods. We need to protect our farm and agricultural lands, and that requires on-the-ground leadership and local control. So I don't want to make a motion on your item, so go for it, but I'm in full support of this.
And by the way, I did ask Bill Brand to be here. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to. He's raising money for this. So Deputy Mayor Keim.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the current resolution that's in the agenda packet. I'd be more than happy in the future to partner with the mayor on another agenda item. If we need to bring this, it's a little duplicitous, but I'm happy to do this one as well. So if you'd like to work together with me, then I look forward to doing that in the future. So I get a chance to actually review this, and we can have a finished copy instead of a rough draft, and we can get that done. So thank you.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second for the resolution that's in the packet. Yes, I definitely would want, look forward to your second on moving the initiative in support of basically it's a signature gathering. It's at the signature gathering phase through, I believe it's June. So it's not as well funded as, say, other special interests. So I do hope that we can go forward on this and join other cities in San Diego County. In fact, there are other cities that are passing this resolution that is before us, before the council, which is not before the public yet. So we'll be putting that forward together at a later time. Councilmember Weiss?
I don't think the actual language of the resolution is going to matter. They want to make sure that we are listed on their website as having adopted a resolution. So
this resolution.
Either one doesn't.
Yeah. All right. There's a motion and second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you very much. Let's move to communications from the public regarding items not on the agenda.
On item number 27, off-agenda communications, we have 9 speakers. Our first speaker is Carmela Munoz, if she is here, to be followed by Esther de la Vega, to be followed by Erica Leary. Okay, moving on. Barbara Gordon, to be followed by Jimmy Knott, to be followed by John Bodorf.
Okay, this must be Barbara Gordon?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and start speaking. I guess we'll get the others to come into the room.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, Barbara Gordon, and I work with Latino youth, and I am concerned with their marijuana use. I see youth attitude is often weed is no big deal. Lots of people smoke it, and it's no more dangerous than taking your first sip of beer or wine. I feel as more cities permit marijuana businesses, it only serves to bolster young people's opinion that pot use, even regular pot use, is benign and can alleviate certain health problems. Many studies like NIDA, the National Institute on Drug Abuse, links marijuana use to increased risk of psychiatric disorder, including psychosis, schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, substance use disorder. Research confirms that smoking high-potency marijuana could increase the chances of developing psychosis by nearly 5 times compared to people that have never used. To me, finding effective ways to explain the psychiatric effects of marijuana to our young people is a major public health challenge. Young people need to be informed about the risk of becoming dependent on marijuana that impairs their educational achievement and increases their risk of depression. These risks have often been overshadowed in the public's debate about marijuana use. I just urge the City Council to prioritize our young people's mental health as you implement marijuana policies that can have devastating consequences to their lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Knott?
Guess the other people aren't here.
I don't see him, yeah.
Okay. Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane. Just first off, want to say thank you to Councilmember Weiss for showing up to the ARPA discussion that was held over at the El Corazon, the Senior Center / Aquatic Center. I enjoyed his banter with he and I back and forth. It really put the community at ease. Him telling me about my mobile needing pontoons just in case it flooded. So I just wanted to take and thank you very much for that. It really put people at ease. Also, reading the agenda tonight, one thing that came out that was really surprising was that 20% of the homeless are seniors. That was something that really got me shaking up a bit. And that was from 55 upwards. And that's something that we need to take and look at because it's a special population that really shouldn't even be on the list. There are programs, there are issues, the things, and these people that can be addressed easily. And I don't know why that they're even appearance on there, but it is. And the third issue, I even dreamt about this. I was watching some of the programming, some of the different council meetings in the past, and it's something that really has tugged at my heart a lot, and that is that we have two contrasting things. One of it is just right above the dais up there. As you know, it says, "In God we trust and liberty." And we say the flag salute. And in the flag salute, it says, "One nation." It says it's indivisible. But yet, we have some council members, I'm not going to say names, but there we have some council members that are trying to divide us from being a unified people, calling for identity politics, calling for all sorts of things, labeling some of our fellow citizens. That's not right. We should try to bring people together and try to build up people, not rip us apart. Because that flag that's sitting right behind Corey over here, Councilmember Jensen, has a meaning. And that's something that we pledge our allegiance to. We need to stop and think about that every so often. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knott.
John Bodorf, to be followed by Suzanne Hume, to be followed by Eric Joyce.
Hello, City Council. So I just wanted to say, first of all, thank you so much. I just wanted to go over a couple of things. That article right there about guest farm workers face exploitation and harsh conditions specifically talks about H-2A workers that the Department of Labor allows the people who hire them to put in their contract that they have to hit quotas. And if they don't hit the quotas, they can be fired. And if they're fired, they lose all the money they would have been given, and they are instantly deported. The reason this article is particularly of note is because it talks specifically about West Coast tomatoes. And West Coast Tomatoes settled in 2018 for $1 million worker violations to several workers who were fired because they did not meet their quotas. One of them actually suffered a heart attack because of the heat and the work conditions. These workers, sometimes we're not saying it's all the time, but certainly this is something to be considered. A lot of these workers go through a lot, and they're not, particularly when they're housed on the agriculture site, they don't have access to health care. They don't have to unions. They don't have access to people to even know that they're being exploited. And there's also, this article talks about, this is a 10-year-long study that was done about cancer risk in California farm workers. California farm workers, because they're exposed to so many pesticides, have an absolute increased rate of cancer because of the exposure to pesticides. So it was great to hear Mr. Singh talk about how much he cares about the workers with COVID. That's great. But the fact is they are spraying a lot of pesticides that are absolutely dangerous and toxic and give people cancer. So there's a lot of pesticides used. This is all obviously available through the County of San Diego. It's agriculture pesticides. So this is records that we requested that are used by West Coast Tomatoes. And this is a list, there we go, of the pesticides that they are using on a regular basis. And this is a list of the countries that these pesticides are banned in. A lot of them are toxic air contaminants, endocrine disruption, linked to cancer, and they're used on a regular basis. And I don't mean by the ounces, talking about the pounds and gallons constantly around the clock. So I appreciate that West Coast Tomatoes is a big part of this community and everything, but if they really care about their workers, they need to stop using pesticides. Thank you.
Suzanne Hume, to be followed by Eric Joyce.
Hi, and thank you so much. Being here tonight is really traumatic and difficult for me. I'm so proud of myself, and you'll probably never hear me say that again. I'm proud of myself for being able to stand up here before you. I've told you how I was poisoned by West Coast Tomatoes. I've told you that I have records from Scripps and UCSD. You know that I didn't sue you, and I could have. And you know I didn't sue the county, and I could have. And you know that you've seen, because I sent you all the records of what West Coast tomato growers has used. You've seen that. You know how many countries things are banned. You know about the toxic air contaminants, like, I had to write one down. I usually can off the top of my head, but it's been really difficult to be here. Chlorpyrifos, that's a toxic air contaminant. You know I have a lung condition. You know that I'm advocating to stop wood smoke because it'll make me fall to the ground. You know I was a teacher. You've seen my students. You've seen me. Do I not matter at all? Do I not matter? Does my health not matter enough to, when we ask you to please put a halt on leasing again to West Coast Tomatoes until we would talk with them, because they won't answer my phone call. They don't call me back. I've tried to call all of them repeatedly, and you know I'm tenacious, and you know I never give up, and you know I'm positive, and I know I cry. When I've come in here, I've had tears and stuff. I'm sorry about that. I don't cry out there. I do wake up every night. I wake up every night, well, most nights, in a cold sweat, because I know what they're using over there. I didn't when I was just a teacher, doing my life like you do yours, before West Coast Tomatoes decided without any warning to bring a helicopter in and spray toxic pesticides banned in all of these other countries. I now have a chronic lung condition, and the stuff that they're using is terrible. You would wake up in a cold sweat too if you know what they were using. And today, when I politely spoke to the gentleman who presented today, he said he had no knowledge of that. How is that even possible? I have called, I have tried. I could have had over 500 people here. Yusuf Miller is part of Clean Earth for Kids. He is a racial justice advocate. What has happened? What has happened? And he's a powerhouse. You have no idea. I haven't done any of that. I have come here politely to beg you to not lease to them and to let's sit down and let's talk about what can do. I told them, look, I can help you get grants. We work with CARB. We work with the CDPR. We are working with the EPA. You might just think I'm a nobody, and I guess I am to you, but I'm somebody, and I was somebody's teacher, and this happened to me. I really need your help. We need to stop this now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Eric Joyce, to be followed by Jay Klumfenstein. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council. I'm here to bring your attention just to a few things as we're closing out the year. There are areas in our city that are unsafe for students to walk to school. Safe routes to school are a city function, as you know. And so I just want to bring your attention to a few places that are really important. One is there are dozens and dozens, probably hundreds of students who cross the 5 freeway exit coming from Oceanside High School after they leave and coming to Oceanside High School in the mornings when they do come to school. I know that the sign has been made bigger, but this is still an area that is unsafe for students to be walking on a regular basis, and I think we need to be looking at whatever we can do to make it safer. Another area of concern is the 4-way stop at Greenbrier and Apple Street. This area has a lot of traffic, and there are also a lot of students that come down from the apartments that live in that area. So this would be an area that we would be looking at putting a crosswalk or some other safety items. There are also a lot of students who come through the area of Apple, Crouch, and Canyon. And if you drive around that area, there's the 2 roads that come in to Crouch, and it's a very tricky area to navigate in a car. And you can imagine students trying to walk from the apartments down Canyon and then accessing Lincoln Middle School across Oceanside Boulevard. So as we're looking ahead and what we can do with the budget, which looks good for next year, please consider these safety improvements for our students to access their schools. These are not the only walk routes that we should be looking at. We need a broad review from an equity mindset because the students who are walking and biking to school are most often from our communities of need. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Jay Klumfenstein.
I'm Jay Klumfenstein, a longtime educator in the area, an environmental studies professor at Camp Pendleton for Park University. Taught out there 6 years to thousands of graduate students. And I come tonight to share with you the city of Oceanside is leasing land to the West Coast tomato growers. The West Coast tomato growers are using toxic pesticides that are banned in many of other countries. The pesticides are being used in the fields that can easily drift into the air to nearby homes, school, and the watershed. These pesticides are placing the council at risk. At risk because for leasing a company that spreads toxic or poisonous chemicals into the nearby watersheds, to the nearby schools, to the nearby neighborhoods, and into the grounds that you lease. And so I urge you to not lease these properties to a company that is spreading poison in the atmosphere and in the nearby neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have no more requests to speak, and the previous speakers seem to not be here anymore.
Okay, Councilmember Rodriguez, did you wish to speak at this time?
Really quick, I just have a brief question. It's not on the agenda with respect to Board Member Joyce's comments on the safe patches of students. It just reminded me, because we had the same issue over off of 76 with the new high school, and I remember the former city manager and I discussed funds from past projects that were earmarked for safe passage for students. It was like $500,000 that was earmarked to do a study on safe passages for students. I don't know if it was specific for the Vista School District schools or if that's just money that's sitting there, but I would love at some point to know if that money's still sitting there and is there something we can do with it to help.
When you say the last city manager, are you referring to the man to the left of you?
What? No, Michelle.
Oh, okay,
Michelle, I'm so sorry. I couldn't, that's horrible. It couldn't come off my, but I remember speaking with her about it and there was some funds for developments that occurred and I think it was like $500,000, but it's just sitting there and we haven't really done anything with it.
Councilmember Rodriguez, Mayor and council members, I will follow up with staff. We do have an active Safe Routes for Schools program and grant funding, and I will provide follow-up information to you, as well as I've already made a note to follow up with staff on the concerns that Mr. Joyce raised.
Thank you very much. Item number 28 is my request to make appointments to or motions for removal from some or all of the city's advisory groups. I have submitted the list, and I make a motion to approve, or motion to approve. Is there a second? Okay, motion and second, please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. We are on adoption of ordinances. Item number 30 is adoption of an ordinance amending Chapter 14 of the Oceanside City Code relating to control of well construction, introduced November 3rd. It was a 5-0 vote. Do I have a motion for to adopt?
I'll need to title the next four as we go through.
Second it first.
Yeah, sorry.
Do we have a second? Wait,
Yes.
I know I was
Sorry.
getting to the titling. Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please title.
Thank you. This is the adoption of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside amending Chapter 14 of the Oceanside City Code, Section 14.13, regarding well construction within the pure water Oceanside primary zone of injection.
Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Under item number 31, it's adoption of an ordinance to amend Article 12 of the downtown zoning ordinance. And since Mr. Mullen is going to title it, I'm going to stop there and say that, is there a motion to adopt? Okay, there's a motion and a second. Mr. Mullen, please title the
This is the
ordinance.
adoption of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside amending Article 12, Section 1232 of the Downtown Zoning Ordinance to establish revised regulations for mixed-use developments with modifications suggested by the California Coastal Commission.
Thank you. Please vote. And this is where I voted no, right? I think that's, yeah.
Motion approved, 4-1. Sanchez, no.
Thank you. Item number 32, this is adoption of an ordinance to amend Articles 10C and 31 of the city's zoning ordinance in Chapter 14C of the Oceanside City Code. I'm going to let the city attorney state the rest of the title. Is there a motion to adopt? There's a motion to adopt and a second. Please title the ordinance. Mr. Mullen?
The adoption of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Oceanside amending Oceanside Zoning Ordinance Articles 10C and 31 and Chapter 14C of the Oceanside City Code to establish revised inclusionary housing regulations with modifications suggested by the California Coastal Commission.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Last, for the adoption of ordinances, we have item number 33, which is adoption of ordinance amending Chapter 37 of the City Code. Mr. Mullen will be stating the entire title. Is there a motion to adopt?
We do have public on this item.
Oh, my apologies. Mr. Knott.
Yes, Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Cherry Lane. Just for clarity, I was wondering if any of the bodies that made the recommendation from the Municipal Water District or the San Diego County Water Authority taken and communicated to you about consideration for low-income families, low-income communities, or even fixed-income seniors in their deliberations and bringing this information to you for making sure that these raises were taking in consideration of these special needs individuals. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lorson, do you have any information? I don't see anyone here from the Water Department.
Mayor and council members, I'll have to follow up with staff to see if that's been a topic of discussion by either of those boards.
All right, thank you. And this was introduced November 3rd on a 4-1. Is there a motion to adopt? Motion. There's a motion and a second. Please title the ordinance, Mr. Mullen.
This is the adoption of an ordinance of the City of Oceanside amending Oceanside City Code Chapter 37, establishing water user rate and external water provider charge increases.
Thank you very much. Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-1. Rodriguez, no.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to go back to general council member comments as the last item on the agenda. Any comments? Not Mr. Knott. I don't see anyone grabbing their mic. So I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting to Wednesday, December 1st, 3:30 for closed session. Happy Thanksgiving, and see you at Thanksgiving morning at the turkey trot.